Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ومصطفاه وبعد. Brothers and sisters, welcome to a new episode of your program Ask Huda. Our phone numbers here code 002023855 131 or 132, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. The Facebook page is Dr. Muhammad Salah Official. Be more than happy to start collecting your valuable calls and concerns. Meanwhile, I would begin by answering the pending question, the sole pending question from the previous episode. Brother Idris from the USA, who inquired about the credit cards with no interest, but they may grant you benefits such as points that you can replace them with gifts or utilize them through other purchases. If the credit card is not something which is an interest based, and it is simply maybe based on your saving or current account, similar to a debit card, so whenever you use it they give you points, that is 100% permissible. The permissibility of the points and utilizing those points or the reward or the miles is based on the permissibility of the initial contract. We stated before that it is not permissible to get a credit card which is not covered with your or against your saving or your current account, because you have to agree to the condition which is illegitimate, that if you do not pay on time, you would have to pay interest. This agreement itself is forbidden. We understand that we all plan to pay on time, but in case if it doesn't happen, you end up paying interest. Obviously, this is the general ruling. Sometimes people who live in certain parts of the world who cannot go around without having a credit card, not just a debit card or ATM machine card. Rather, they have to have a credit card to purchase an airplane ticket, to rent a car, to pay the bills online. So if it is necessary in this condition, whatever is forbidden, it becomes permissible due to necessity, but with limits. Okay? So if we're asking about the points which are accumulated or the miles on any account, like airlines for instance, the more you fly, the more you accumulate points, can you utilize them towards purchasing another ticket or an upgrade that is permissible? Our scholars, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on him, said that provided the person does not make that purchase initially in order to get the points, he's making a regular purchase, like you go to the mall, you go to the shopping center, and you buy whatever you need to buy. And as a result, they have a drawing. So you win whatever. This is not a typical lotto. This is not a lottery. Why? Because you did not pay whatever you paid in order to enter the lotto. Rather, you're making your regular purchase. And they give gifts to random people. And you have been randomly selected, or have been selected based on your receipt by computer. So in this case, these gifts, these reward miles are permissible. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Adam from Egypt.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I asked this question before, but I wasn't really, I didn't understand the answer, and I asked someone else, and he told me the opposite. Is it okay if I ask a similar question like it?
Okay.
Okay. A Muslim believer who commits suicide, will he be in hell forever?
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. When you said the question was not answered, but you got the opposite answer from somebody else. You know, this statement is conflict in itself. Because Adam, you're saying that the question was not answered. Meanwhile, you're saying that somebody else give you the opposite answer. An opposite to which answer exactly?
It's you said that actually before a Muslim believer who commits a major sin, he will not go in hell forever. But I asked someone else, if a Muslim believer commits suicide, will he go to hell forever? I asked another sheikh this question. He said yes. Someone who commits suicide will be in hellfire forever. Is this true or not?
There is a hadith, in fact, it's a sound hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, من قتل نفسه أو طعن نفسه بحديدة فحديدته في يده. Whoever takes his life by the means of, for instance, a piece of metal, a piece of iron. So this piece of iron will be in his hand and he will keep stabbing himself with it forever in hellfire. As the hadith says, خالدا فيها مخلدا أبدا. The word أبدا means eternal. And that is similar to whenever Allah the Almighty says about the non-believers in the Quran, خالدين فيها أبدا, abiding in hell eternally. And whenever He says about the believers, خالدين فيها أبدا, that the believers will abide in heaven eternally or forever. From the obvious text of the hadith, it says that. And similarly, He says, and whoever throws himself off a mountain or of a high place, he will be continuously throwing himself off a high place or a mountain in hellfire, خالدا فيها مخلدا أبدا. ومن تحسى سما, and whoever drinks something or takes something that is poisonous with the intention of taking his or her life, they will continue to take that poison forever in hellfire. خالدين فيها أبدا. They will continue to take their life as a means of torture. This is a punishment for them in hellfire. Now, this is the general ruling. We also have been informed that whenever somebody commits suicide, the vast majority of the scholars say that we should not offer the funeral prayer for him, because the hadith says, عَجَلَنِي عَبِدِي, that Allah the Almighty is angry with the person who rushed and he or she have taken their lives without Allah's permission. Of course, it was destined for anyone to die at this particular time or place. But the person have decided to take his or her life. That's a major sin, but this is not like typical sins. Okay? Some of the scholars said, okay, many of those who take their lives are unaware of these ahkam. So they are involved in committing a major sin. And maybe they have been in a condition which does not necessarily mean that they have disbelieved in Allah or despaired in Allah's mercy. And that's why they have taken their lives for a reason or another other than that. So they said that laymen may offer the funeral prayer for him, hoping that Allah may accept their intercession for those who have taken their lives. But religious people, the imams, knowledgeable ones, should not attend their funeral prayer, to be as a sign of rejection and as a sign of objection from the knowledgeable people that we do not even attend the funeral prayer for people who have taken their lives. But the hadith, as I mentioned earlier, from its obvious text, it says so. That is different than the other kaba'ir or major sins. Shirk, Akhi Adam, is a major sin, isn't it? It is. If anyone committed shirk, will he be forgiven if he dies in this condition? No. He will not be forgiven if he dies in this condition. Why? Because he did not believe in Allah to begin with. So if anyone have committed any of the major sins while he or she still believe in Allah, believe in the last day, those sins, either they will be punished for them or they will be forgiven. And even if they were to be punished for it, they will not stay in hell forever, according to all the ahadith and the ayat which we discussed in previous episodes. Jazakallahu khairan. Sister Safa from the case A.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh?
Fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you
At the
for asking.
outset, I would like to thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Safa.
I pray Allah that He accepts all your good deeds.
Ameen.
Sheikh, I have one question. In the Hanafi madhab, the congregational prayer of women, with women leading the prayer, is not considered correct. I pray in the Saudi Arabia, we lead prayer, women lead prayer, we stand in a single row and we pray, but when I go back to India, my sisters there refuse to join me in Salah in congregation, as they consider it as against, or rather they say it is wrong, they call it makruh. I'm not sure about this. If you could just throw some light, please.
Okay, Sister Safa, it is permissible in Hanafi madhab for a woman to lead the prayer with other women, provided she would stand in the middle of the line. She would not stand ahead of them. But there is no iqama nor adhan for women. But it is permissible for them to pray in congregation. And that's also in Hanafi madhab. Sometimes, whether deliberately or indeliberately, we confuse what is cultural with what is religious. So I have seen some people do a lot of religious practices, assuming that this is the sunnah, or this is our madhab. And if you simply investigate, you will find that this is not true. But because they do it in this locality, this way, it's easy to say this is Shafi'i, or this is Hanafi, or this is how we do it based on our madhab. It was Imam Hanifa who also stated that a woman would stand in the middle of the line. This is what we teach our students with regards to a woman leading the prayer. Amongst the things which I noticed that a lot of people physically capable to stand up, they pray the sunan, the nawafil, while sitting down. They cross legs, they sit on the floor, and they pray this way. Because they think that you should pray the nafila while sitting down, like after Maghrib nafila. I've come across a lot of people who do that. It is permissible, but it is not required. And whenever you pray the nafila sitting down, you get half of its reward, because al-qiyam is a pillar whenever it is in the fard prayer. And it is not a pillar in the nafila, but you will be rewarded with a full reward if you stand up. And if you sit down, you get half of the reward. We should not say this is our madhab though. Jazakallah khairan, Sister Safa. And all women, whenever you have a chance to pray in congregation, even if it is only two, because al-jama'ah, or the congregational prayer, could be achieved simply by having an imam and a ma'mum. Subhanallah. In the Sunnah, we have reported before that once one of the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, has entered the masjid and they have already concluded their prayer. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man yatasaddaqu ala akhikum." He encouraged the companions, any of whom, to lead him in a prayer, so that the person who came late would attend his prayer in congregation. And we stated before that the first person, the person who's going to be leading the prayer, is obviously praying his nafila prayer. Maybe the sunnah, al-ratiba, after the prayer. Or even if he is praying another fard, for him it is voluntary, because he has already offered the obligatory prayer in the first place. Job says in his question, is it permissible to marry a woman whom you do not love, but you just marry her for you to be a citizen of that country she's from, so that you can make some money and you take it back home to take care of your wife and kids back home. I think we perfectly understand this situation. Marriage with the intention of divorce after a certain time is not permissible in Islam. Marriage should be based on the following ayah of Surah Al-Rum. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. So marriage should be based on compassion, based on mercy. When you say that, could you marry a woman whom you do not love, is that permissible? It is permissible. You know, I know a lot of people who would marry this woman because she's a widow and she has a bunch of orphans. So he is assisting them. He is not in need to marry or to take a second wife or to marry in the first place. But he has done that exclusively to support a widow. I know of a person who was a very good person, got married and have about a couple kids. Then Allah the Almighty tested him with cancer and he died as a result. So when he died, he left a wife and a few kids. So his brother, after the iddah was over, married his sister-in-law after his brother passed away. Why? Can anyone say that he loved her? No, not necessarily, you know, but he wanted to take care of his nephews and nieces for the sake of Allah. And he will be rewarded, a great reward, of course, in this regard. So love is not really the only reason why people should get married. There are a lot of people who marry each other because of many other qualities. Then love is developed afterward. Could this happen? Of course. And there are a lot of people who love each other and they live a love story. They fight against the whole world. They boycott their families. And then when they get married, in a couple of weeks they separate. In a couple of months they get divorced. That happens. But what is problematic in your question is when you marry somebody only for a worldly reason, like when you say that you're marrying her so that you can get the green card or the passport, the citizenship, and obviously once you do that you're going to dump her. That is not permissible. It is not permissible to marry with the intention of divorcing at certain time in your mind, even if you do not share that with the wife. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Abdul Malik from Canada.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam. Akhi Abdul Malik, welcome to the program.
Alright, thank you. I have two questions. One is that I have a friend, like from where he grew up, they were very strong in Islam and...
Akhi Abdul Malik, raise your voice please.
Hello?
Yes, please raise your voice a little bit.
Okay. I have a friend, like when he grew up, he wasn't very strong in Islam and then he didn't used to practice that much, but after all he understood it wasn't the right way. But sometimes he used to miss like 3 days not praying, so and I heard that not praying for like 3 days can take you out of Islam, as some people agree with that view. And then secondly, regarding like associating someone with Allah, calling someone God instead of like just associating someone with Allah. Sometimes you see people putting the God in their names. So is that like calling them and saying that the God part in their names? Is that like a form of shirk or not? Thank you very much.
Can you give an example?
There's this celebrity. His name is, I think it's Charlemagne, I think. Then has the God in his name, right? That's how his name is. I don't know why he chose. It's like a nickname he added to God. So is it permissible to call him that full name or not?
Okay. With regards to the person who missed some prayers for 3 days, before I state the hukm, I would like to warn a Muslim from missing, or again is missing a single prayer. If a person missed a single prayer, he either missed it because he believes that it's insignificant, then this person is not a Muslim. Or he believes it is mandatory, but he's negligent. And look what Allah the Almighty says in Surah Al-Ma'un. He says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Woe to those who pray, but they are negligent of their prayer. They are forgetful. They neglect it sometimes. So he threatened them. And there is no security that the person could simply die after skipping a single prayer. Skipping a single prayer is a major sin. Postponing a single prayer until its time is out and the prayer time of the following prayer has entered is a major sin. Even if the person made it up, he has to seek forgiveness and he has to repent unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have a case that somebody was negligent of his prayer for 3 days. May we ask a reason why? Could he stay without eating for 3 days? Could he stay without answering the call of nature for a whole day or 2 days without going to the bathroom? Allah the Almighty is making it easy for you. He is sustaining for you. He is making your life easy. The least is to say, thank you, Allah. As-salah is the greatest mean of turning to Allah with gratitude, with thanking Allah for His countless blessings. So one has to be very keen to offer the prayer on time. Imagine when Allah the Almighty said, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا, Surah An-Nisa, which means that the prayer is a timely ordainment to be offered on fixed times. You're not allowed to postpone a single prayer from its fixed time. So what about if a person neglects praying for a day, 2, and 3? If he dies in this condition, he's in big trouble. Is he considered a non-Muslim? No, not yet. Because a person who neglects the prayer takasulan, out of laziness, will have to be addressed first by the authorities. Then if he resumes praying, he's fine. But if he insists on not praying, then it is his choice to be out of the fold of Islam. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Safiya from United Arab Emirates, welcome to Ask Huda. No problem. Try again, please. Hawa says in the following question, Mustafa Hawa, I would like to know for how long can a mother breastfeed her child? If you're talking about the breastfeeding period at large, Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 233, Allah the Almighty says, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَ. Al-walidat here means the mothers should suckle their babies, children, حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ, for 2 complete years. And al-hawl here refers to the lunar year. لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَ, for those who would like to complete that period, which means it is not mandatory. This is a divine recommendation. This is the ideal situation, to suckle your baby for 2 years. But if the child is not interested in breastfeeding anymore after 15 months, 18 months, and he stops taking the breast milk, you're not blameworthy. What about if a woman cannot breastfeed? She's not blameworthy. We would hire somebody to breastfeed the child because the natural milk is healthier, of course. But if you ask about the period is 2 years for those who would like to complete the course. Shakil, in his question, let's take this call first. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Muhammad from the KSA.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm fine. Thank you for asking, Muhammad.
Okay. Sheikh, I have a question. I used to go before along with the Tablighi Jamaat while I was in India. And my question is, they used to tell, the Tabligh Jamaat, the way to go to Tabligh Jamaat, that is in the way of Allah, that is a jihad. So they are calling that way, and then they will live in a mosque for 3 days to 40 days, and then in that time they will learn everything. But I'm a little bit confused whether that is correct, or whether I need to go continuously along with them or what. I don't know. So please advise, Sheikh.
Jazakallahu khairan.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Thank you, brother Muhammad. You will find my answer concerning the Tabligh Jama'ah once you type the question on the YouTube, where you find a lengthy answer. But don't I do Tabligh? I do. I travel maybe once a month, twice a month, sometimes once a week. This is khuruj. Isn't this what you call it? This is khuruj, isn't it? So, I'm doing it on individual basis. I'm doing it without a certain limit. Like, no one should say it must be only 3 days every month. What if I decide to stay 15 days? I can afford to do more than that. Nor should you say as minimum, because there is no reference to that. And a da'wah doesn't have to be abroad. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spent 10 years in Mecca, giving da'wah only in Mecca. Then when he lost his uncle, then he lost Khadija radiyallahu anha on the 10th year, and he lost his great support in Mecca, he started to go abroad. He went to At-Taif. He made da'wah in At-Taif. Then a couple years later, the Prophet ﷺ made hijrah, and he sent the companions here and there to many localities, but without limitations of 3 days or 40 days every year or 4 months per life. This is a dilemma when it comes to providing a reference. I understand that the brother said that this is called tanzim. Okay? But it is not exactly as you say, because when you say you have to, sometimes they're very lovely brothers. They come to me in my center in the States, and they say, Sheikh, you're not planning to join us for khuruj. I say, for how many days? They say, for 3 days. I said, only 3 days? I'm making khuruj my entire life, because I'm leaving my entire family and everybody and everything, my work and my business, and I'm doing this on daily basis. Do I have to leave my place and go to another place? Yani, every week, whenever I have certain days to go for the prison da'wah, since I was a chaplain for in many units. That's khuruj, isn't it? Because the word khuruj is to go out. But to tell me that you have to do it how many days and on a regular basis and all of that, I can't find any proof to support that. So, akhi, go out, visit people in their homes, give them da'wah, invite them to the masjid, okay? You can do it in an organized fashion. You and a few brothers in the masjid decide to go to the mall to speak to people, to their shops, and so on, without really having those shackles of we have to do it in 3 days and 40 days and 4 months. We have to loosen up a little bit and widen and broaden our understanding when it comes to the resources of education. We don't have to keep reading from the same book. The Sunnah is very broad. The Quran is marvelous. Let's sit and learn how to read the Quran. And another thing, that the person who stands up to give the ta'lim or the bayan should be an educated person. Educated in what? In the deen. Is it permissible? Is it possible to bring somebody, just he was not praying, he was doing the haram, and alhamdulillah we managed to bring him and convince him to come to the masjid. Immediately you should come and join us for khuruj, and now you're giving the bayan. إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. The person who teaches, first of all, has to learn. And the Prophet ﷺ said, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. When you know this ayah, you can convey it. So if there is a knowledgeable person, he is the person who should give the education, should teach others. and we need to learn how to recite the Quran. We need to learn how the ahkam of the fiqh and the ahkam of aqidah. Jazakumullah khairan. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back inshallah in a few minutes. Stay tuned.
Huda TV strives to remain the premier English language Islamic channel in the world. And to do so, we need your input. Send us your thoughts, suggestions and feedback through email at feedback@hoda.tv. Huda TV is committed to helping others, so why not help Huda TV share the message of Islam worldwide? Take part in helping spread the authentic message of Islam based on the Quran and the Sunnah throughout the world by sponsoring Huda TV. Don't miss this unique opportunity to gain the reward from Allah.
This is the Deen Show. 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 This is the Deen Show.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Deen Show. From time to time, we answer some of your questions. We have so many important issues that we're dealing with here on the Deen Show, and we encourage you to come back here every week. And if you don't catch us on the TV station, you can go to thedeenshow.com where all of our shows are there.
It is important for us when we look at the issue of holiday myths that we look at the whole picture. And from the beginning of time, people worshipped the Creator in different ways. The Quran tells us in the chapter of the Bee, Surah An-Nahl, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ.
Maryam, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah.
Thank you for being with us on the Deen Show.
You're welcome.
So how old are you again?
I'm 8 years old.
I didn't want to get that wrong. 8 years old. And you've memorized how many juz of the Quran?
I memorized 21 juz from the Quran.
21 juz. MashaAllah.
As you know that there is no concept of clergyman in Islam.
There isn't?
There is not.
Okay.
And this idea is supposed to be very liberating. Nobody comes between you and your Creator.
Okay.
You do not need an operator. It's a direct call. So Islam rejects the whole notion of clergyman. So a sheikh, imam is a title that is given to a person like myself when the community feels that you're worthy of it. And it's just a title out of respect.
This is the Deen. There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you'll feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there. If you care enough for the living, make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place. For you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Yeah. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares for joyful giving. If we try, we shall see. In this bliss we cannot feel fear or dread. We stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always Love's in a forest growing, so make a better world. Make a better world. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. In the dream we were conceived in will reveal a joyful face, and the world we once believed in will shine again in grace. Then why do we keep strangling life while this earth crucifies its soul? Though it's plain to see this world is heavenly, be God's glow. We could fly so high, let our spirits never die. In my heart I feel you are all my brothers. Create a world with no fear. Together we'll cry happy tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares. We could really get there if you cared enough for the living. Make a little space to make a better place. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. There are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. The first question we have is from Shasita Bahar. She says, in our country it is debated whether or not after marriage a girl should change her last name to her husband's. Can you please explain this point and how far it is correct? The answer lies in Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter number 33, verse number 5. Allah the Almighty says, "Ud'uuhum li'ābā'ihim huwa aqsatu 'inda Allah," which means assert the relationship to their fathers. That is more equitable with Allah. Ud'uuhum, call them, assert them. Li'ābā'ihim, to their fathers. Ascribe them, the children, to their fathers. It is not permissible in Islam for anyone to bear any last name other than his father's last name. What people do in the West, of whenever a woman gets married, she changes her name into her husband's last name. This is simply depriving the woman from her right, the right of bearing her own name, because her husband is not her father. وَدُعُوهُمْ لِآبَائِهِمْ. And whenever she is separated, simply she is stripped of the name. And again, she will go back to her father's name. She marries again, she takes somebody else's name, back and forth. The father is the one who's worthy of that the child should be bearing his name. Shakil says, is the way of performing salah differ from men to women? Should women keep their body close to the ground and arms on the floor during sajda? No. Why not? Because the hadith is very obvious. The Prophet ﷺ said, صَلُّوا كَمَا رَأَيْتُمُونِي أُصَلِّي. What does it mean? This hadith is like a cornerstone in how to pray. It means you all should pray as you have seen me praying. As you have seen me praying. I haven't seen the Prophet ﷺ while praying, but I have read, learned, and studied all the narrations of which the companions have narrated how the Prophet ﷺ used to offer the prayer. Is that sufficient? More than sufficient. He did not distinguish. He didn't say that women should do it differently. When it comes to the ibadah or the acts of worship, we do exactly as the Prophet ﷺ said. I understand also that in the Hanafi madhab, there is some differences in the prayer. Like a woman should keep her hands, the right on the left, on top of her chest, while men should keep their hands beneath their navel. And also they collect their arms and they collect in the sujood, but we don't have any reference to that whatsoever. The way that men and women should place their hands is alike, both on the chest, the right on the left. Raising the hands for men and women is alike. In the Hanafi madhab, for instance, they say that men, they should raise their hands, that the thumbs will be touching the shahmatay al-udhunayn, the earlobes, while for women, up to their elbows. In fact, both are valid for men and women, not only for women. The Prophet ﷺ forbade, or he disliked, placing the elbows on the floor or on the ground for either one, men or women. He said that it's called iqa'ul kalb. It's similar to the sitting of a dog. When the sister called earlier and she stated that they say in Pakistan or in her locality that it is not permissible for a woman to lead the prayer, we say, but Aisha radiallahu anha did lead the prayer with a group of ladies. Salama radiallahu anha did lead the prayer with a group of women. And Aisha, when she led the prayer, she recited out loud. And she stood in the middle of the row. Khalas, that's an enough reference. Imam Abu Hanifa never said it is haram. In the Hanafi madhab it says it is disliked, but it is not forbidden. It is not forbidden. While the Maliki school of thought, they believe that no, women should not lead the prayer whatsoever, whether it is mandatory prayer or voluntary prayer. So we give preference to the view which has a proof. When the mother of Al-Hasan al-Basri is one of two who are considered the greatest tabi'in, the master of the second generation. After the companions, there came a tabi'in. Whether Al-Hasan al-Basri or Sa'id, may Allah be pleased with both of them. So his mother said that she attended the prayer with Salama radiyallahu anha, and she led them in the prayer. If anyone were to say that the prayer of a woman is different than a man, so she would not make a complete ruku', as we hear people say, so I need a proof why the woman's prayer should be different than the man's prayer. While I do have the proof that it is the same in every aspect except for the fact that whenever we pray in jama'ah, that men pray in the front and women pray in the rear of the jama'ah, and in between would be the as-sibyan, or the youth and the children. Other than that, the prayer of Aisha was similar to the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ to all men and women. Ibn Yusuf says, what is the Islamic ruling of someone working in places like supermarket or a shop where they sell many things which include alcoholic drinks and other forbidden goods, even though not all of that you sell is haram? Yeah, I understand. A convenience store, you're selling groceries and you're selling beer, you're selling pork sandwiches, you're selling lotto tickets, you're selling tobacco. In brief, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا حَرَّمَ شَيْئًا حَرَّمَ ثَمَنَهُ. That is the answer to your question. Once Allah the Almighty makes anything forbidden, then it is also forbidden to sell it. It is also forbidden to buy it. It is also forbidden to serve it. It is forbidden to facilitate its consumption by any means. وَلَا تَعَوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. What if somebody still does sell something which is forbidden? Then this earning is pure haram. What if he sells it along with other items which are halal? So his earning is mixed, lawful and unlawful, and he is at a big risk. The unlawful earning is not accepted. It is not accepted if he were to give it in a charity or to spend it on his children or on himself, because it is earned unlawfully. May Allah guide us to what is best. Sister Faiza Osman says, I know of a Muslim who has the traits of a hypocrite. He does the traits of a hypocrite. At the same time, this person is a practicing Muslim, who even does extra acts of ibadah like tahajjud. What is the status of such person in the deen? What is the meaning of practicing? Do you guys think that practicing means that he prays, he fasts a lot? No. Practice, يعني he practices the teachings of the deen, which is the manners, which is husnul khuluq, which is the rituals, the acts of worship, the prayers, the fasting, the mandatory acts of worship, in addition to being well-mannered with people. A person who lies, constantly lies, as you mentioned in your question, is not a practicing Muslim. A person who's used to break his covenant and his promise is not a practicing Muslim, even if he prays. The hadith is very clear. The Prophet ﷺ said in one hadith, ثَلَاثٌ مَنْ كُنَّ فِي. In another hadith, أَرْبَعٌ مَنْ كُنَّ فِي. 3 or 4 qualities. Whoever would have all of them is a pure hypocrite. This is not pertaining to the hypocrisy which leads the person to the bottom of hell. Hypocrisy in faith, where he is a non-believer, but in public he is pretending to be a Muslim. No, rather, that's called النفاق العملي, in the practice. The person prays, the person fasts, but he's a liar. Could this happen? His prayer is not benefiting him. مَنْ كُنَّ فِيهِ كَانَ مُنَافِقًا خَالِصًا. Whoever would possess all of them is a pure hypocrite. وَمَنْ كَانَتْ فِيهِ خَصْلَةٌ مِّنْهُنَّ كَانَتْ فِيهِ خَصْلَةٌ مِّنَ النِّفَاقِ حَتَّى يَدَعَهَا. And whoever would have any of these traits, then he or she has this trait of hypocrisy until he abandons it, until he stops. إِذَا حَدَّثَ كَذَبَ. Whenever he lies, whenever he speaks, he lies. وَإِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ. And whenever he promises, he breaks his promise. Pay attention to whenever he does. So the person is doing that on constant basis. A lot of people lie every once in a while or occasionally for a reason or another. It's a sin. But he's not called a munafiq. A munafiq is a person who constantly lies. So once his name is mentioned, people say he's a liar. Or he's not a trustworthy person. وَإِذَا تُمِّنَ خَانٍ. People, they trust him with something and he betrays. The fourth evil trait, according to the other hadith, is وَإِذَا خَاصَمَ فَجَرٍ. And whenever he breaks up his relation with anyone, he becomes very rebellious. He even transgresses the limit. He accuses the person with things which he or she did not do. That's called al-fujru fil-khusuma. May Allah protect us against that. A woman who's mentioned to the Prophet ﷺ that she prays a lot and she fasts a lot, وَلَكِنَّهَا تُؤْذِي جِيرَانَهَا, but she annoys and she harms her neighbors. The Prophet ﷺ, without any reluctance, says, هِيَ فِي النَّارِ, she will be in hell. What about her prayers? What about her fasting? All of that did not benefit her when it comes to improving your relationship with people. Becoming a practicing Muslim means it's a very comprehensive. It's a way of life. It's not only in the masjid, nor only whenever you're praying, nor only whenever you're fasting in Ramadan, but 24/7. May Allah guide us what is best. Brothers and sisters, by that we come to the end of today's edition of Ask Huda. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance.